All the presidents, whoa, men. Trump whisperer sparks MAGA firestorm over blonde aide, 35. Natalie Harp is suddenly the name Washington can't stop talking about. For years, most Americans probably couldn't pick Natalie Harp out of a White House lineup. Then Senator Jon Ossoff said one name, Natalie. And suddenly MAGA's hair caught fire. CBS News reported on August 18 that Harp is Trump's 35-year-old executive assistant, a fiercely loyal aide frequently seen at the president's side. The Guardian reported on August 19 that Harp's official titles are Special Assistant to the President and Executive Assistant to the President. And I checked the actual 2026 White House Annual Report to Congress. There she is, Natalie J. Harp. Salary, $150,000 a year. That's not gossip, that's the White House's own paperwork. Please take a second to hit the subscribe button. Now here's where this gets interesting. Natalie Harp isn't famous for writing legislation. She became famous for paper. CBS News reports Harp became known for quickly providing Trump with printouts of favorable news coverage. Think about that for a second. Trump needs to see it on paper. The Guardian calls her unofficial nickname the human printer. Think about that job for a second. The President of the United States is standing at the center of the largest intelligence and communications apparatus on Earth, and somebody close to him becomes famous for feeding him pieces of paper. 4. That's funny, but the underlying question isn't funny at all. Who controls the information reaching the president? And according to CBS, Harp's role goes beyond printouts. Trump often dictates Truth Social material for her to type and post. Heads of foreign nations call Natalie to get a message to Trump. So now we're talking about information moving in both directions. What reaches Trump, and what goes from Trump to millions of Americans? She'll never leave me. Now let's talk about the currency of Trump world. Loyalty. CBS, citing reporting from Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swann's book Regime Change, reports that Trump once told staffers about Harp, "She'll never leave me." That's one hell of a performance review. Not, "She's my greatest policy strategist." Not, "She's an indispensable administrator." It's loyalty. And Harp has demonstrated a whole lot of it. Her relationship with Trump goes back years. She spoke at the 2020 Republican National Convention, where she publicly praised him. Fast forward 6 years, and she's standing almost constantly inside his presidential orbit. Harp is as loyal as a pet cat. Who gets close to the president? And this is where the story becomes bigger than Natalie Harp. It's about access. Look at the photographs. Look at the travel. Look at the job. Look at who stands near the president. I know you see them, even though Trump needs glasses and will not admit it. Harp isn't some random blonde staffer wandering around the West Wing looking for the copier. She's Trump's executive assistant, and according to the official White House personnel report, she's a special assistant to the president.
I don't think it's a physical attraction, let's get real.
And her brother said she is special. CBS describes her as frequently at Trump's side. The Guardian calls her one of his closest and most devoted aides. That doesn't prove some secret conspiracy. It proves something much simpler. Natalie Harp has extraordinary proximity to Donald Trump. And proximity to a president is power, even when that power doesn't come with a cabinet title. Then Jon Ossoff dropped the match. Then Senator Jon Ossoff decided to throw a grenade into the conversation.
It's today dragging an unknown woman who's gone off to serve her government through the mud, insinuating that the only possible reason she could have a job in politics is because she's a concubine for a politician. It's despicable.
He wants to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie on their apparently defenseless flying palace.
That's Senator Jon Ossoff of Georgia taking a swing at Natalie Harp, President Trump's executive assistant, and it clearly struck a nerve here at the White House.
Jon Ossoff said you'd rather travel with your aide, Natalie Harp, and build the ballroom than do your job as president. What is your response, Jon Ossoff?
You mean Pee Wee Herman? Pee Wee Herman lookalike?
At a Georgia campaign appearance, Ossoff attacked Trump's priorities and referenced Trump wanting to build his ballroom and travel with Natalie. John just spoke the truth. That's documented by CBS News and The Guardian. And that little line produced a gigantic reaction. Trump went after Ossoff. Then CNN's Kristen Holmes asked Trump about Ossoff's comment. Trump attacked the reporter. And according to The Guardian, the official White House rapid response account subsequently went after Holmes personally, including bringing her children into its criticism. Hold on, you can't handle the truth. A senator mentions Natalie, a reporter asks about Natalie, and suddenly the White House communications machinery starts launching missiles? That's when America started asking, who is Natalie? MAGA rushes to the gate. Now here's where I separate the receipt from the rhetoric. Can I prove MAGA is literally divided 50-50 over Natalie Harp? No, and neither can anybody else from the evidence I've found. But can we document a serious political firestorm and a furious defense of Harp? Absolutely. CBS documented the controversy. The Guardian described the reaction as a furious backlash. And that's the fascinating part. The story isn't simply, who is Natalie Harp? The bigger question is, why did the mention of her name, Natalie, wake America up? That's worth investigating without inventing anything else. And now there's a security clearance question. And hold the printer, because today, August 20th, The Guardian published another development. The paper reports the Trump administration is facing questions over Harp's security clearance. According to that report, Harp worked inside the White House for roughly a year without obtaining a security clearance and reportedly did not submit the required paperwork until Trump and White House counsel became involved. The White House says Harp is now cleared and defended her as a valued member of the team.
Written letters to other presidents, let me put it that way. And so like her dream came true finally. Trump's best friends are people who are his fan club, you know? And so she's his biggest fan. And so that's probably why he likes her, and she's good.
That's an important distinction. This isn't evidence that Harp stole classified documents. It isn't proof she committed espionage. Don't make up crimes when the documented story is already serious. Harp is a spy. The legitimate question is, how does someone working this closely to a president reportedly spend that long without completing the normal clearance process? That's not a blonde hair question. That's a White House procedure and national security question. This isn't about the blonde. And that's where I'm landing this plane. Forget the blonde hair. Forget internet gossip. Forget her willingness to wipe and change him. Forget trying to turn this into some soap opera TV show. The documented story is better. It was only when the White House counsel's office raised the issue and when Trump himself became involved that Harp filled out the paperwork for a federal background investigation and was belatedly granted clearance, according to the report.
Who had to intervene, according to one person I spoke with. Now, Harp in recent months, she's filled out the forms to launch a formal federal background investigation, and she's received the clearance she should have had all along, according to one person I spoke with. Remember, Harp operates unusually close to the president and filters much of the information Trump sees on a daily basis. And that proximity has caused real frustration inside the West Wing. That's according to 4 people familiar with Harp's day-to-day interactions. And if you're wondering how typical it is to fill out that extensive security paperwork, one person familiar said other West Wing employees typically filled out their security paperwork at the beginning of their tenures, and said Harp's was known among some staff as incomplete and not accurate.
Norm Eisen, a former White House ethics czar, said, "It is shocking that an aide who has potential exposure to the nation's most sensitive secrets reportedly went without a security clearance for so long. Treating access to confidences as a casual job perk is an outrageous way to handle our national security. Access, loyalty, information, social media, security clearance, proximity to presidential power." The White House's own 2026 report confirms Harp's titles and $150,000 salary. CBS News documents her role, loyalty and unusual visibility beside Trump. The Guardian documents the political firestorm, and now the questions surrounding her security clearance. Those are the receipts. Natalie Harp didn't suddenly walk into Trump's orbit this week. America suddenly noticed she was already standing there. So my question isn't, is something going on between Trump and Natalie? I don't have evidence to tell you that. My question is much more important, who's guarding the gate? Because when somebody has extraordinary access to the President of the United States, helps move information into his hands, assists with material going onto his social media platform, and stands this close to presidential power. Is it Susie Wiles? Americans have every right to ask questions. I bring receipts, not bedtime stories. So, she did have security clearance when she jumped into the back of the car? Subscribe, share this video, and comment below, is Natalie Harp simply Trump's fiercely loyal executive assistant, or has the gatekeeper herself become part of the story, or spy?